Evening, everybody. I'm back. Christ, I know I'm back as well. No one's hung about. Jesus, it's overwhelming since I've got back. The amount of work that's sort of piled up over my 3-week holiday. Let's call it. Someone did call it that the other day. I nearly headbutted them, to be fair. But there we have it. I hope everybody is doing well. I've come back and been quite impressed with the weather, to be honest. I didn't know what to expect when I got back, but it seems like a few people might have jumped a little bit too early with the pond covers. Might be wrong there, but it certainly seems like it's pretty decent, in all fairness. I'm on my own this evening, not got Steve in the background. He's off, so I would appreciate you guys letting me know just everything's all right, audio, etc., before we really get into it all. Fingers crossed the internet's not going to play havoc with me this week. Certainly seems that the last time I was on was traveling at sort of 200 kilometers an hour on a bullet train and got a pretty decent signal most of the way through. So yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't fail us. So yeah, first of all, folks, please, as ever, I think I'm streaming this out on the Koi Talk Facebook page as well tonight, so hopefully reach a few more people. But if you've got any questions, please start firing them through. So there's always plenty to work through, but any new ones are all appreciated. And yeah, a couple of little bits to catch up on. Now I'm going to keep dropping this particular coin throughout the evening as we get on. So. And yeah, bear with me, folks. Obviously, I'm reading the pictures as well. Picture is still getting that a few bits. Interesting. Just a couple more. Let me know if that's still the case. This internet is unbelievable over here. I don't know what's been going wrong with it. Yes. So there's a particular fish for appreciation. Right, screen's frozen. You might have to bear with me here, folks. Not quite sure what's going off. Just bear with me one moment. It might cut off. I might have to get back in. So if it does go blank, I will be back. Don't worry about that. Let me know if that's any better. I'll just switch the connection over. I can't believe it's frozen. Is the audio all right though? Crafty, you're absolutely right, mate. Done that on a 4G connection at 200 Ks, and I can't. Yeah, sat here in the office in the middle of town, can't get a decent connection. It's quite unbelievable. But there we go. If that's there we go, rocking and rolling we seem to be. So here we are, folks. Right, so yeah, the appreciation part. I've got this is going to be quite a fun one. I think this is one of those major koi transformations that's going to blow your mind a little bit. So just throughout, I'm going to keep dropping it up because I want people's opinions. So here's the fish. Little Tosa NND Shiro from the DK lineage. They're 18 cm that I bought. It will have been this spring. So people's opinions, please fire them into the comments. Simple yes, no. Would you have bought that fish? Would it be price dependent if you took a gamble on it? Yeah, let us know your thoughts. Be honest. This is one for learning. There's no rights. There's no wrongs. It wasn't a particularly cheap fish. I think you'd have probably been looking as a Tosa around the maybe excuse me, folks, £600 to £700 mark. For that one at 18 cm as it was. So yes, opinions, please. Like I say, fire them in because yeah, I think it's going to be quite an interesting one for you. Young fish like this are seriously, I say unpredictable. You can't predict too much. This is the whole sort of point of this one. When you're buying fish like this, I think where a lot of people do go wrong is you've got to just look around the outlines. That's the important part of my sort of bit of tip on this right now before we go into it in depth. can't look too much. The biggest thing I was looking at here, to be honest, was the big head on it and the quality of that sumi. That was it, because when they're that young, that size, if you look too much into it, you're gonna miss out on a lot of fish if you overthink it. So yes, that's that one. Just more people tune in, so we're just going to keep dropping that one in a couple of times throughout. So there we have it. I hope everybody who's been participating in the NND Mud Pond Fish has now had their videos. I sent all them out yesterday evening. I've had a few responses in from people, and overwhelmingly great feedback on them, because they have been incredible. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit anxious. I think Makoto sort of played a bit of a prank on me, in that we'd done a harvest with NND, and to be honest, I'm not sure what fish went in, but the results weren't particularly great. So he while I was sort of sorting through them fish and we come back with them, I'd had 2 fish in that pond and they had done well. It's just some of the others that hadn't. And I asked when the date was going to be for the harvest, and he came back and said, smirkingly, lots of Shiro, sorry. And I'm just thinking at that point, he's talking about showers that have lost the colour, and I didn't know which way to take it. I was sort of like, said, what, really? And he didn't say anything. So yeah, for sort of like, I think it was like a week later when we eventually got it. Sorry, Koi, COVID. No, it's not, mate. I wish it was, to be honest with you. I think this is my stress cough that comes on this time of year, but fingers crossed it'll bugger off soon. So he left me sort of hanging for a week, wondering what the hell was going on. And we got to the harvest. I was anxious that night. I'm not going to lie. I was anxious as well. And we got to the pond, sort of started netting it up, saw a few big sort of shadows. So I sort of already knew they'd done the size. I was just wondering what was coming out, because I'm guessing he's obviously seen the fish while they've been feeding a little bit. And the size was a bit of a worry, to be honest, because they had a big problem in those particular mountains with bears over the summer. So the feeders would have to be removed for quite a long period. And I just didn't know, I say manual feeding then, sort of twice a day, what the results were going to be. So size-wise, I could see already sort of from what was shadows were coming up, they nailed it. But then as I started, sort of got in the pond, started pulling them up, all of a sudden fish after fish came up looking superb. And in the same pond, I had, I think, 12 deer fish I've been buying out the NND events that they host. And to be honest, quickly I could see that the few bad results in there were those fish, surprisingly. I mean, considering more expensive than all of the event fish, which was just crazy. And it just goes to show it's not about what you pay for them, to be honest with you. I did know there's a few risky patterns I'd bought, but overall, it was sort of analysed through, as I analysed through all the data over the past couple of days, and found that I think there was only 3 of the 40 event fish that had actually had results that hadn't gone to plan. So overall, I mean, size is topping out at 45 cm. It's quite remarkable. And I have got, you might have seen this on Facebook, I've got the still picture I took of the, for you to see, I mean, what a pool of fish that is, really. And I can't think of any other than the few that didn't quite go to plan, where these are now not worth considerably more than what was paid for them. In fact, I mean, there's a couple of examples that really, really exceeded all expectations, where you probably, I think a lot of fish in there, you'd be talking in excess now of anywhere from sort of 795 up to maybe 1,900 £1,900, maybe even a couple of grand a piece retail. So really awesome what's happened there, to be honest, the results and everything. And yeah, like I say, I'm sure there's a lot of very, very happy owners out there. And hats off to Makoto at NND for his work this summer as well. He's really, really smashed it out the park with that one. So local comedian Kevin's in again. Can we have Chris back? Do you know any of these problems when he was standing in for you? Fair play, mate. I'll get him back in from from now on. Fine by me. I can go and put my feet up on a Wednesday evening. Yeah, so just give me a minute, folks. Just going to have a run through, see what people are saying here. Forgive me for not getting too many comments up on the screen. I'm obviously focusing on what I'm nattering away to you guys. Here's a few bits of feedback on the Shiro story post so far. So the guys at West Midlands, first I wouldn't, but I'm guessing it's totally transformed. You'll have to wait and see. Shirley, yes, great sumi. Sure, it has done well. NND K-line, long head. Yeah, absolutely. Big important one with them. It's going to have too much dark black, Martin. Yes, well, wait and see, because this is the bit where I think the conversation is going to get quite interesting on that one. And Michelle Vaughan, properly too much sumi for me. Again, let's wait and see. It's a very, very interesting one. This young toast development, which leads me on to the first sort of point that I've been asked to discuss from one of the dealers who was in the ND Mudbond event, because I'm not sure many of you can remember me discussing it on the sort of video I did before the event took place, when I started talking about a few of the fish and what can happen with the sumi and the sumi fade back, and basically this baby sumi, as I discussed it, which can show at a young age, but after this big growth spurt can drop off completely. Because I think there's been a few sankis that, in my opinion, have done incredibly well, but the sumi has fell back. It's smaller now. In some, it's faded off a little bit, and particularly there was a couple, maybe 2 or 3 showers where the sumi's just sort of dropped off completely, and that for a lot of people is going to be one to get your head around, I know. But basically, in those cases, the fish have done exceptionally well. The Bennett progression has been very good. The whole transformation of the fish has been very good. The part with the sumi is really not to be concerned about, because this young sumi, like I say, it can, sorry folks, drop off and then come back. What I'll tend to now is from this eye onwards, that sumi will start re-emerging. It does in most cases. But when it does re-emerge, it comes through of a higher quality, because it's coming now from deeper in that skin, and it's really going to take its time, come back up. The pattern should come back to where it was at, possibly looking slightly differently because the fish is bigger and all the rest of it. But it is a completely normal part of the process, and one you just need to get your head around. And again, with the Shiro story, it'll all sort of tie back in, and you'll see what can happen with these small Tosa. I mean, a lot of them are jumped from like 18 to 20 centimeters up to 40 to 45 centimeters. I mean, it's huge growth over a sort of 6-month period. Let's not forget that. It's over this huge, really short period of time. So a lot's going to happen, and they're still very young, even now they're sort of 18, 19 months old. Yeah, crazy. There's another one on the Shiro. Shiro looks dirty. There we go. So yeah, they are. Let's say these young Tosa. It's a hell of a game to get your head around. So yes, just give me a moment while I can have a read through. Oh, Kevin again. Yes, Arsenal. That is becoming a problem, mate. I completely agree with you on that one. Come out of nowhere, they did, as we were discussing it last week. I didn't think anybody expected them to be where they're at. Right, let's see what questions that we've got. Crafty. Is that a signed Koi talk behind you, Ricky? No, and I did see earlier Evo's watching, but we have got 2 signed copies of that exact edition, the anniversary edition where NND were heavily featured. There's 2 that have been signed by all of the NND directors, all 3 of them. They look pretty awesome, to be honest. And yeah, you'll see that released. If you follow Koi Partner on Instagram and YouTube, you're going to see the videos coming out on them to find out how you can potentially get your hands on one of them. All sort of going to be giveaways. We're not planning on auction or selling anything like that. It's going to be all heavily based around Koi Talk subscribers and purchasers. So yeah, but they do look awesome, and the only 2 in the world, so quite a rare item there as well. And before I forget, while I'm on the matter, so I think we mentioned, Chris might have mentioned, we've got our next grow out event lined up is one based in Japan again. It's the one I had in mind, since we did the NND one. It's with Taniguchi Koi Farm, one of my absolute favourite farms to go to, just like NND, to be honest with you. You probably remember last week was featuring a couple of fish. This Sankey of mine, 3-year Sankey or Sanzai, was technically about 2.5 years old at the minute at 70 cm. Absolute monster of a fish, and one that's going to really, push past the boundaries. That's an easy 80 cm plus fish in the next couple of years, depending on how he raises it. And one again that's had a pretty serious transformation when you look back, just in case you didn't see it last week. I'll just skip through these pictures quickly. So there that was at Tosa. Looked nice. Obviously, body looked very strong, but there's certainly an area of the sashi there which definitely needed time. An area of the belly on that, as we're looking at it, that right hand side of the fish needed a lot of work. And you can see there, I mean, it had a massive jump last year, so it's sort of like 62 cm, I think it was at Nisai. Crazy growth and size on that, and then eventually to this autumn. And I mean, just look now how that area on that side is really starting to knit together now as it gets the size and the body gets the volume. Skin quality is really coming alive. The sumi is pulling into place. It's really doing its thing. The sumi is coming in the fins nicely. Super piece. I love Taniguchi Sankey. They're great. And so the event, Taniguchi is an amazing place for buying Tosa. It's a completely different experience for fish, because most breeders keep Tatigoi in their fish houses as well. You'll often walk into a fish house and see it. Always, obviously, the best pond stands out by a mile. And it's a tease. So the breeders keep these fish. They keep them all summer in hope that obviously they don't let anything go that's too valuable or anything like that. Taniguchi completely flipped all this on his head. And when you go there, there's so many Tosa available, and there's nice little array of varieties now as well. Pretty much 90-95% of everything he's got Tosa wise is for sale, and it's just priced according to its quality and the sort of quality and potential that he sees in it, which is I mean, for me, I struggle to keep control, to be honest, because having that many fish available and that sort of quality is fascinating. And what's also great with him is you can pay a small fee to grow those fish I select now through to springtime, where they'll be raised to jumbo Tosai, and then you have an assessment of what's going on. And if you choose to leave them there in the mud pond, it's also then a reasonable keep them either in his indoor ponds for the summer or in the mud ponds. So it's a really great thing, and it's a great opportunity to learn about selecting young Tosai as well, because these are sort of like 15 to 17 cm, I think. So really small as it stands. They're all being pictured at the minute. So just bear with me. I have got the first video to release on these for everybody to see. Just bear with me. Here we go, folks. This is a seriously wow bowl of fish. We've got Kohaku Sanki Showa, Ginrin Showa, there's some Goshki in there, and obviously his golden corn. A few pieces come prize money away from him, but just look in there. I think with these, to be honest with you, especially with the Kohaku, the quality's already all there for all to see. It's probably more the Sanki, golden corn, Ginrin Showa, where it's going to take a little bit more vision. But I mean, they're just crazy patterns on these things. Absolutely superb, and that skin quality as well. They're mega. So the plan with these is we're going to get all the dates and everything firmed up and released, but they will be available the same format as last time. Through our dealers, and the fact this time is the koi will be grown until spring. That's going to be all included in the price, and then come spring we're going to assess all the fish, and there will be the option, if it seems worthy, to grow it on over the summer if that's what you choose as well. So, and price point wise, we're going to be hitting very similar to last time, 495 and 595. Just with this lot, we can't hit the 395 price point like we did last time. But even still, that's a hell of a lot of fish for the money, in my opinion. And obviously, seeing some of the results, a client did this last year with a batch of fish, and those Nisai that were left for the full year that got harvested, just incredible. Sort of 40 to 45 cm on average, and yeah, super quality. So there's that video one more time. It's a real struggle just to pick one of them out, to be honest. Great fish, and this is exactly what Taniguchi is all about, and the lineage of his fish. I've always admired his eye for parent fish. He invests heavily in them, but his eye for picking them, and like I say, the golden corn's sort of testament of that, because to complete the new variety that he's had to create from ground zero and actually create the parent fish himself as well. So I think anybody with the sort of abilities to do that has got a serious understanding of koi, full stop. But yeah, there we go. There'll be more information coming out on that one as we go along. Yeah, amazing stuff. Paul Comerford there. How do we leave them out there for longer? Turns out pretty good. So yeah, what will happen is I'll be out there probably March, April time to assess all the fish, get an update to everybody. That it's a case of just deciding what you want to do with the fish. If it's worthy, I'd probably give that advice, and if you want to leave it there, then you can pay the fee, and keep them there all summer as well through to the autumn. So yeah, Paul Cohen as well, Ginrin Shore, just class. It's a variety I've got a massive soft spot for, and nice to see him working his magic on him, because that's one thing you always get with Taniguchi as well. Killer patterns, something he does, work really hard. Right then, let's fire into a few questions. Paul, what did you think about the farms down south compared to the ones in Niigata? I think me and Chris were actually talking about this on one of our podcasts we were recording the other day. So it's always a very different experience. The farms down south in general, there's a few of obviously the biggest hitters in the koi world, full stop. Sakai, Momotaro, Omasako, Taniguchi being a big one. I mean, just what they're doing, if that was in Niigata down south, what they do is superb. It just so happens that they're not in Niigata, they're outside of it. So but farms in the south, it's, how can I say, it's a place you've got to visit. This is how I sort of operate. You've got to visit these farms for sure, because it is a different experience seeing what they do, the levels they're doing at. There's a lot more commercialism to them, so they're very professional outfits in how they're run. Tend to be really well organized as well, especially with the Azakari fish, knowing what's happening, getting updates to customers, all the rest of it. It's a hell of a lot of driving around down there, so you're very committed with the traveling. So generally, if you go into any of them farms, you're hoping you find fish, because you've invested a lot of time getting there. And if it doesn't quite work out, it's quite a lot of time lost as well. This is why it's really important to get a schedule in advance when you're visiting these guys, because you really want to make sure you're timing it around a harvest, whether it just be after one. You certainly don't want to be going before they've not harvested, because you're going to be very, very slim pickings of stuff that's already been left in the fish houses over the summer. So, but I mean, Omasako is always a great one to visit. Them guys just, it's such a small amount. When you see the scale of the operation for producing what still, looks like, 70% Shiro Utsuri, the Kajaku are phenomenal, and the Showa are pretty insane as well. There's even smaller numbers of them. When you see the amount of space dedicated to just doing it, I sort of say, hats off to what they're doing. And as regards to black and white, I mean, wow, in them blue ponds that time of year, the fish they've got, it's insane. And I managed to get 2 real top Nisai from there this year, which have now been sold as well, which, it's always a great place to visit. And they've got some cracking fish that are going to be shipping back from them guys as well. Actually shipping back this autumn, some really nice value stuff. So that's nice. Taniguchi again spoke about it. I just love the place. I would, if it took another massive flight to get there, I'd do it for that place, because I just think what you get for the money, the whole experience of the place and what's on offer, the quality of the fish is absolutely superb. Managed to get in Narita this time, so a little tour. I mean, just to give you an idea of the traveling. So from leaving Niigata, we got a 5.5-hour train to Okayama, which is the base. It's kind of a little bit more central around those areas, so we can drive most of the other places that we need to go to. Omasako is like a 2-hour drive from there. Taniguchi, an hour and 40. But then the one day we had planned where we left the hotel and went to Nagoya and Toyota City, which is in Nagoya or around the area, to visit Dainichi Toyota, because I've got 3 serious fish there. Nisai I purchased that have been growing through to Sanzai. It's actually my first time visiting that farm. I do know Hiroshi quite well, but never been to the farm before. So managed to tie that in, but this was a 5.5-hour drive. It ended up being with the traffic from Okayama to Dainichi Toyota, and then from there went to Kondo for the first time. My God, I've never seen so many maritime fish in my life. I said to him at one point, I says, "You really like maritime fish, don't you?" He says, "I absolutely love them." Which is quite cool, and yeah, absolutely insane place there as well. Wasn't masses of fish. He was quite slow to get started harvesting, and pretty serious with the price tags there as well. And then yeah, that afternoon over to Narita, Tosai shopping. It was the day before his event, so got some nice Tosai from him. Sakai again. There's already one batch of Sakai fish in QT over at Koi Wholesale, which I can't wait to get out. They're looking absolutely superb, along with the Dainichi ones. And then yeah, a few other bits and bobs that he had, quite interesting stuff. And then yeah, onto his place. I mean, wow, it's just an experience to visit. Very, very inspirational to go there and obviously see that operation, how it's run. The event was crazy competitive as always. So it's the lucky draw event. You basically stick a label on the fish, and then there's a chopsticks draw with all your numbers to see actually who gets it. And yeah, a lot of the fish I went in on, there was over 30 entries for those fish. So crazy. I think one actually exceeded 40. So competitive to try and get all of them. But yeah, I think Paul, to be honest, the big draw is a lot of the operations down there are bigger, very much more commercialized businesses rather than just farms. I think because of their sort of isolation and because they've not just got the mass stream of customers like in Niigata, they do have to work harder at that. But why they end up specializing and going so serious in on stuff, I've got no idea. But yeah, managed to visit Sakai company for the first time. Got a superb Nisai Sankey from there that I'm shipping back to raise over here. That was, again, I think we caught that place relatively early. They were just hitting it, but some great fish there. And yeah, then the big trek down to Okawa. So bearing in mind, we'd done 5.5 hours from Niigata to Okayama. It was then a 2.5-hour train, I think, from Okayama to Kurume Station for Yuji to pick us up and take us over to his farm. And again, we've got some really good Nisai there. I got some banging Tosa, really happy with that. And 2 amazing customers, Azakari results, Sanzai, Shiro and Sankey. I've got sat there, absolutely peachy. They've done a cracking job with them. So yes, like I say, down south, you've got a few of the biggest farms in the world, serious specialists in what they do. But likewise in Niigata, there's just this charm that Niigata has got. You know, your day you're skipping from farm to farm to farm because there's so many of them there. It's very fast pacing what's happening. You know, you're at one harvest, you go to another, you go one day, and then, you know, like Marihiro, for example, I mean, you just have to stop every day because he's doing 2 or 3 harvests a day, the guy. It's absolutely insane. And yeah, just all this stuff. And there's so many breeders there, so many characters as well that I enjoy. Takano, the Sankey guy, Secret Sankey, as you probably know him. I mean, what a character he is. But you can go from there to NND. And again, you've got all your specialists there and the serious players as well. Not forgetting, we've got Dainichi here in Niigata. There is, of course, NND, your Marados, your Hoshikins, Nogami are all very, very serious players in the koi world. So I think overall, to really get a full understanding of what's going on, you do want to try and encompass everything and get it all in, but it's just a lot of trekking and a lot of commitment. But for me, totally worth it. So yes, I hope that sort of answers that one, Paul. Michael Sly, how many of these Danish Tosa deals did they offer buyers this year? I've heard of a few others, buyers snagging sizable amounts. Must have been a big Tosa year. They're always about, it's just the size of the deals that's the problem, and the timing as well, and the quality that you get. It's quite controlled, it's quite tough, and there's a short window to get hold of them, and getting the right quality that's important. When you get the right quality, they're still not cheap. Bearing in mind, it was 750 Tosa I picked up here. And there's just minimum amounts with this small stuff. It's not the sort of stuff you can just order a box or two. You've got to be clearing the whole lots up. So it's always there. It's just, I think for the UK especially, it's not been done. I mean, last year even the sort of shower that got offered to me, that just couldn't. The numbers on the deal, I didn't have the confidence. I've not had the fish enough either to fully appreciate and know where they were going. So backed off from it. And got to remember as well, we'd already done a lot with the Issa shower and things like that. So yeah, they're always about, like I say, getting the quality, and then it's the size of the deal involved, which is the prohibiting factor on a lot of this, to be honest. So yeah, just glad to have them over here, especially, I mean, Sakai as well, getting hold of them things, the small toe size, so difficult. Again, getting the right quality. You can get them really early and they're not particularly great, but I think this batch, having seen them now, I'm absolutely delighted with. So yes, I have got actually some questions here from one of our viewers in the States. Elliot has dropped these in by email. Actually bumped into Elliot in Marihiro's fish house as well. You bump into everybody there. Great place. So I'll just pick a couple of questions off of his list. So first one, what are your overall thoughts on comparisons to prior trips to Japan 3 years ago? What's changed? Absolutely, naff all has changed. You just sort of slip back in as if I'd been there a few weeks prior. There's a few new fish houses dotting around. The breeders haven't changed. The style of business haven't changed. The physical look of the whole place hasn't changed. It's just as it was. So, yeah, like I say, I think I didn't know what I was to really expect, but it just felt, yeah, like it always did from the first sort of day of being there. Get on with it. You get into your harvests. It's been, yeah, very, very enjoyable, and I'm sort of glad it's as it was, to be honest with you, because I didn't really want it to change too much. And yeah, what is the current trend for pricing? Are you seeing the prices still in line with prior years? Yeah, I mean, absolutely no. I think there's sort of issues with shipping to China at the minute, and not as many Chinese buyers. So a few farms, there were some nice bulk deals going. Omasako being one, you know, the fish I'm bringing back at a price they're going to be putting that I've not been able to get anywhere near that kind of price in years gone by. Getting the fish was a struggle enough. So I think that has had a little impact in certain areas. But in regards to the Nisai, absolutely not all. It still seemed as competitive as ever. Probably even more so that the sort of lucky draw systems were in place a lot, where big harvest at big farms like Nogami and Issa, for example, people knew when the big harvests were coming in. So you've got everybody there. I mean, fish houses absolutely ran with people, and you're doing a lucky draw system to decide the picking order on the fish to keep it all fair. So, you know, when there's demand like that, prices aren't gonna drop in the slightest. Where it might happen is as the sort of the main harvest season drops. So maybe, you know, into December and January, we'll see what happens there with what's left, because of what sort of quantity is left as well. But yeah, nothing ever really seems to change with the pricing, to be honest with you. And you know, when you are buying a lot, there's always a good deal to be had as well when breeders have got stock to clear. So that's probably the only part when it does change. And like in this case of Omasaka, we managed to get a superb deal, which again is going to make those fish super accessible for people as well, which is what I love to do with these bigger farms, because too many people unfortunately tend to have to miss out because of what the pricing is like. So just get one more off of Elliot's, which actually I'll answer this next week because I need to get some more videos uploaded. But what was your favourite purchase and can you show a picture? So I will leave that one till next week and come back to it then. So, right, for those who didn't join at the beginning, I'm just going to show you again here a picture of a NND Tosa DK Shiro. And again, if you're just seeing this for the first time, please a simple yes or a no in the comment section. Is this a fish that you would buy? At this, like I say, ballpark at 18 cm, we'd be talking about £600 to £700. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on it? Would you buy it? If you wouldn't, why not? If you would, why? Yeah, not going to be too much longer, and we will. I'll delve into this and actually show you the end result on it. But yeah, I mean, them NND DKs, we did have some cracking results overall. They're doing a absolutely super job with them. So yeah, well done to them guys. I think everything at NND, to be honest with you, I know I ramble on about it a lot, but they do such a good job of everything. And I've had some super Azakari results there with a lot of what I would call my own fish, to be honest with you. But yeah, please let me know what you think on the Shiro. Gavin, super happy with my NND, thank you. Pleasure, mate. I think it's one of the Sankeys you got, which I've sort of predicted would be a good result, and it probably surpassed what I was even thinking, to be honest with you. Pete Harris, yes, on the Shiro. There we go. Bob, yes, I bet it's transformed beyond recognition in a good way. Yeah, I could say that really, but it's going to be an interesting one. Right, just give me a moment while I have a quick browse through. Let's have a look. Paul there again, just seeing. Thanks for the info also about Sakai. I tried to ask Chris last week if they were catching up to the other famous Sakai. Yeah, what would I say? It's just, if you see the scale of the operation, the whole Sakai Company Limited operation, you could put in the corner of one of the Sakai fish houses. That's the real difference. There's good fish, yes, and there's fish. I mean, it just looks like Sakai. It's going to is one of the Sakai family that's running it. But yeah, the fish very similar in a lot of ways in traits and characteristics. I'm guessing obviously there'll be some of the main Sakai parent lines that they've used, but yeah, I think it's just that it's the volume thing, not producing the quality of quantity like Sakai, and then not having the space they've got. You can't raise as many of the big fish that can be competing for grand champions and major awards. So that's all it is. Where it'll go in future, I don't know. I did see as he was sort of the owner was harvesting his Sakai, quite a few of the sort of older boys there with him. So I did pick up a bit of a sort of old boys club sort of vibe to it, which that might just be, you know, this was the uncle of the family. It might just be keeping him happy, keeping his foot in, doing something he wants to do, and on a scale he's happy with. But yeah, overall, I'd say there's some great fish, but no, I don't think you can say it's any comparison to the main Sakai. That place is a behemoth, and the quantity of quality fish they knock out is just insane. So yeah, that's my take on that one. So who will let the name out on the Sankey breeder? I think I'm to blame for that one, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie, I was the person who set all that up to begin with, because we wanted to protect the source of where the fish were coming from was the main thing, because it's very competitive. It's a small place, but we pretty much got to know anyway that he's not interested really in taking too much business. He's not interested in all the sort of agents out there doing stuff. We were just quite lucky that, you know, I sort of formed quite a good bond with him straight away. I think he saw, I mean, his fish blew my mind. I think the passion and excitement was all over my face, and being a passionate guy himself, just sort of hit it off from there. But there are, you know, domestically, a lot of the Japanese do deal with him. That he's very, very well known in them circles, and a few guys from the States as well. I think Kodama is another one, because again, the Japanese ties and knowing about the place. But yeah, I mean, in the end, people like to know stuff, know what's going on, and pretty much confident now. We're pretty much, tied up. I've got good access to the Tosa, and yeah, spent a full day harvesting with him on the Nisai side as well. So, a couple of nice first picks there as well. I was really, really pleased. That is an amazing place, one of the gems of Niigata. So just bear with me while I have another browse. Normally when Steve's here, he separates all the questions out from all the chat, so it's a bit easier for me to read and see what's going on. Okay, there's a lot in that chat. Alan there, totally agree. Understand that story sumi is an art. You're not kidding. And I'm not going to lie, when it comes to Omasako especially, I mean, Christ, that is one, I'd probably say I've not had enough experience of having their fish over, because it really does keep me on my toes, and quite a lot of other people, to be honest with you. Some crazy, results with their sumi, where even at sort of Yonsai, there's been fish that seemed quite stable, and then they've completely thrown it all on the head and all, with complete sumi loss and failure. It's absolutely crazy stuff. And just while we're on it, I just want to thank, while I'm having a read, thank everybody for their support with the binders for the magazine. Absolutely crazy. I think there's only around 70 left now over Saturday and Sunday. So many of those just got sold. It was incredible. If you haven't seen them already, here they are. Impressive bit of koi memorabilia, if I don't say so myself. Proper cracking thing to look at, and the back looks equally as impressive. So yeah, not many of them left now, folks. They are a limited run. So if you haven't got one already and you're after one, I'd suggest getting your order in quickly on that one. I do apologise. I find it quite hard to pick all the questions out on that one, to be honest with you. When are the shipments of koi inbound from Japan? So yeah, that is big on my job list at the minute. Get back. There's about 3 or 4 different shipments I've got to plan, arrange, schedule, and get in. So hopefully going to try and get as many of them in by the end of this month as possible. Before I need to start getting my head into Tosa and seeing what's going on. So yeah, fingers crossed we will have them in pretty soon. And yeah, again, the NND mud pond fish will be in before the end of the month, hopefully as well. So let's see what Alan's just popped on again here. Absolutely, yes. As the baby sumi recedes and the Motogoro tightens up, balance will develop to the pattern. Body structure, head size, superb. Shiroji looks very good, and will frame the sumi perfectly. There we go. So that's the one on the Shiro. I think, to be honest with you, I've kept you waiting long enough on that one, and I'm finding it too hard to get through all them, see what questions are in there. I do apologise about that, but let's delve into this Shiro, because I know this is going to be a really fascinating one. So there it is again, as the Tosa 18 cm. Not the only one I bought. There was quite a lot of these. I've not seen them all yet, but this one, like I say, so when I was looking at this, all I was looking at there was mainly, first of all, saw that big head, big mouth, and was absolutely like, yeah, the rest of the structure is set really well. Things I'm seeing that didn't concern me now. I was looking, obviously, you can see the sumi quality is great from what's there already. The pecs, that never bothers me. I mean, basically anything to do with the sumi pattern, I completely ignore. Really not interested in that. Just saw there was a lot under the skin, potentially a nice flow to it, good areas of Shiroji sat in amongst there as well. And I knew this type of sumi. So basically, that grey blue under the skin is where the sumi's at. So there was always going to be more Shiroji sort of mid-body. But also what happens with some of these blue-grey areas in Tosai as well is that a lot of that is sort of false, in that that'll be sumi that never comes up, because with the initial growth spurt, as the white skin thickens, what happens is it covers a lot of those areas over, and that'll never emerge. I'll never do anything with it. So the key areas here is where the sumi was actually already up quite a lot, to be honest. But still, I knew there was always going to be big change, certainly big change to the pec fins as well. very rare does it stay completely black pecs. As soon as it starts growing, like Alan mentioned, that Motogoro shrinks straight back. So with a fish like this, and to be honest with you, for that lineage at NND, for this quality of fish, it's the price you're going to expect to pay, around that £600-700 mark, for something small like that has got potential. When you compare it to Nisai prices that I've seen this autumn, it is a drop in the ocean. Compared to some of the Nisai I've seen, you're going to quadruple that at the very least to start buying the high quality level of Nisai from them guys. So yeah, went into the mud pond, and that was my only expectation. The body was really, really pleasing, and I knew it would be as a Nisai. Still, you've got all the other bits, male, female, what's going to happen, who knows. And I was actually down in the south at the time. I'd not seen this harvested, and I got a message from Fujo with the picture, the Nisai picture, and it took me a minute. I had to pull them all up, and it took me a minute to actually fathom out which one it was. The change had been so crazy. So here we go. There it is. That is now the Nisai of that fish. That is it. I think it's about 45 cm it got to. It is female, so I've had a cracking result with that one. Wow, absolutely insane. And let's just see a chat comments going on in there. It's funny, but yeah, I mean, what a fish. Just look at that now. The body's still absolutely shining. You can see that there's no change there. That same structure, especially in the head. Look, you can see that same structure in the head. It's wild, but yeah, absolutely stunning. Wow. So for those people who said they wouldn't have bought it, again, absolutely nothing wrong. But I'm sure, please tell me, you would probably change your opinion now on that one. Absolutely balmy fish. So yes, let's show you that side by side so we can look in more detail at what's happened. It is. You can see why it took me a moment to pick it out from all the pictures of the ones that I had, because I mean it's very, very hard to sort of piece that together, especially looking mid body and at the peduncle. I think that's the two areas there that's probably the hardest to sort of fathom out. You can see what's happened in the pec fins. Obviously, that Motogoro's pulled right back. Really, really high quality Motogoro, really high quality sumi as well overall. But yeah, and I mean that transformation, that as we're looking at it, that transformation down the right hand side of the fish, where there was no sumi, to having that block and all that's going on. I mean, it's wild. You would be absolutely forgiven for rejecting that fish as Tosa, or not wanting to consider it as an option to purchase. Absolutely. But this is why, in order to get these results, I mean, the issue is now this is a Nisai, sits in the sort of top bracket level at NND. That is a fish that would cost thousands just to buy directly at the farm. So, consider it was worth taking the risk. But in order to take the risk of that as a Tosai, you have got to, you can't be too critical. If you are too critical, you miss this kind of opportunity. And don't get me wrong, it could have gone, complete opposite direction. But like I said to you, all I'm looking at that point with that fish is the outline and the qualities. You could see quality of white skin in there. You can see quality of sumi. You can see the body. Tick, tick, tick. And again, I know it's not that cheap, but in relativity to what it's worth now, it was a cheap fish. So the rest, I know, is going to be serious change. Let's just see what happens. And that is what happened. And yeah, like I say, even took me back a little bit. And I've seen some radical transformations in my time, but that one really took the biscuit. So it's now going to stop in Japan for sure for another year, because there's a lot to come from that one. Super high quality sumi. And with that bone structure, there's going to be a major growth spurge to come next season. So yes, Douglas, how on earth could you see that difference in a fish? Yeah, I mean, like I say, you're not going to see it, you're not going to predict it coming, but it's understanding that in order to win, because this is something I'm trying to get through, and me and Chris have just done a podcast on this, is that, you know, not everybody's got a big budget to play with fish. We all dream possibly of having a fish like this on the right in your collection. But like I say, I think all said and done now, from what I've seen, that's a fish that would be around £3,000 to £4,000 at least. That's without adding any you know, UK taxes or anything like that on, right there, which takes it out of the reach of a lot of people. You know, that's one I'd even be thinking twice about buying at Nisai. So what can you do in order to maximize your budget and get the very most amount of fish for your money? Because this is something I really want to get across to people, because I see everybody being so critical when they're looking at Tosa and Nisai and looking for too much in those fish. And this is why most of the what are real bargains and go get missed and just become something you have to look at on the screen like that inevitably. And yeah, you know, having spent time in Japan, seeing customers, seeing the sort of requests they were getting for fish, but what was being sort of expected for those budgets, and when good fish were being sent, how they were being picked apart, it makes it so hard to find, because good koi in Japan, especially when they're Nisai and above, command serious price tags. The reason they do is because as I'm driving around, you know, there's so much. I mean, you can even actually see it with this one. You see good fish, and then there's things that affect the value a little bit. I mean, we can actually see on the front of this, if you look at the two pecks, there's a slight snagging there, which this happens a lot. It's a bit of a pet peeve of mine, because it can really ruin a good fish and completely destroy the look and shape of a peck fin if not careful. Luckily, this one hasn't gone too far, and as soon as I saw it, I asked for him to cut it, get it cut into shape so it didn't snag any further. And as that fish gets bigger, this shouldn't actually grow out too much. But my God, I mean, the amount of good fish I saw with issues, severe issues like that, then you actually start looking around in these fish houses, and the amount of fish that would tick these boxes is so few. And then the cost of them, you know, they're just crazy. And you've got places like Marahiro, you know, his round pond, and yeah, you actually look, and he's got a lot of fish in there that are one-offs of the varieties. You know, I was there when he was harvesting some bits, and there was a Becco. I mean, the amount of good Beccos I've seen in my life, you could count on one hand. They're just not a fish you see a lot of impressive examples of. And this one, I just knew it straight away. And he said it. He said, that's All Japan best in variety for sure. And I thought, you've got to give it a shot. Asked him the price. And let's just say, folks, yeah, 18, 19 grand, I can't remember what it was, wouldn't have quite cut it. So, and when he actually chucked the number out at me, he actually did it with his fingers, and it was crazy. So that's the sort of money we're talking. Last Dainichi auction just gone. I'm watching fish in there. You know, I was bidding on a Ginrin Showa. I was really happy with it. I put a considerable bid on it. And with 3 minutes left, that fish was the price of a small family car. And there was many more Nisai in there. I mean, I'm talking in excess of £24,000. There was numerous pieces going for that on the female stuff. Males were going for the money. Most people don't want to pay for females. You know, it's just sort of just the point and awareness that needs to be getting across to people. You know, when you're talking a budget, which is a considerable budget, I'm always careful when we say this, sort of £2,000-3,000, for example. And a lot of customers, customer requests hitting around them kind of budgets. But yeah, it's a considerable amount of money. Don't get me wrong, I am aware of that. But in the koi world, at certain places like at Dainichi, that is not buying male fish out of this last auction just gone by, not even touching the sides. And I think unless I draw awareness to things like that, it doesn't help in the understanding. So if you know if that is your budget, you've got to be aware that there's going to be compromises on what comes in order to get the best fish for that budget. So, you know, that might be that you have to go then, yeah, Dainichi's out of the equation. It's going to be too hard to get it done. So you go to a different farm. But even as you step down them farms, it might be that really getting the best thing, especially when people are so picky and place so much importance on the pattern side of things as well, that buying male is the best option in a lot of these cases because your money's still going so much further. But while I say that, this trip is the first time, I'll not say the first time, I saw it coming at a few farms prior, before the sort of lockdowns, but more and more breeders placing values on male fish that I've not known in times gone by. At Marushin, it was happening. At NND, they're getting a lot more valuable male fish. Yeah, a lot of the farms in general, there was a lot of them starting to ask proper money for the males. Hoshikin, there was very affordable male fish, but then there was a pond where it got serious. And to be honest, looking at it, the results there for males, certainly I'd not got too much harvesting done, but at that point was better than what was in the females. So surely he's going to be looking at that. And when you consider the size of the fish and the size of the bodies, most people at a glance would not be able to know at all. And with that line, they've got serious size potential still. So I think breeders slowly are starting to look at this and think, why are we taking such big hits on these males when, again, they're competing more and more at the shows, they're getting the size in these top lineages, seeing sort of no reason for it. So times are changing on that one. I'm missing the boat, but like I say, this whole thing with the pricing and budgets for fish, in order to get the most for your money, you have got to have place as much importance on learning as you can. And I think I actually said this in the podcast, not to sort of spoil it, but if you're at a point where you're saying you're spending £1,000 or £2,000 on a fish, but doing it once a year, I mean, for me, I see that potentially, I might be wrong, each to their own, but the enjoyment in that might fade, because one of the most enjoyable parts of the hobby, as I see it, is buying new koi and finding new koi and then growing them on. So it can put a lot of pressure on it. In that instance, I'd probably be looking more at like this. So like those Taniguchi fish, for example, when you look at the price of those, you're basically hedging your bets. So there's a chance you're going to get one really good fish out of there. So you say you've got a £2,000 budget, you buy 4 of those rather than the one fish, the one this side, where you probably can't get what you want for your budget, because although it's a fair chunk of cash in the koi world, especially in this side, it's not going all that far. So you have to take a few risks in order to then potentially build a collection of fish above what you might just be doing in the first place. So you take, for example, 4 of those fish, rather than spend the 1-2K, you go 4 of those fish, you grow them onto jumbo Tosai, or potentially even straight through to Nisai, let's say. And, there probably will be one superb result in there because the quality is so high. There's then potentially 3 fish that you can sell on and actually probably recoup the costs and put towards, the cost of the one. Crazy, or even put back into the fund for buying a few more the next year. So for me, I see a lot more enjoyment in doing that. But what you're also going to do, you're going to learn a damn sight a lot more from it as well. That's why there's when you see some of the Tosa results I'm getting, none of that's happening by chance. That's from a couple of decades now of doing this and really focusing in on understanding Tosa and what happens to take away some of the unpredictability and read the roadmap a little bit more. There still is a lot that happens and changes and goes wrong, don't get me wrong, but I think between that and a change in mindset as well, where I say you have to be open-minded, just coming back to it to finish, you see that young Shiro there, and like I say, all I was looking at was assessing the qualities and then accepting I don't truly know how that fish is going to look, but let's go with it because there's quality there. Just go with it and end up with that. Mega. And yes, there's more fish in there. I can't remember how many. It might have been about 10 pieces I bought all in all. One of them was a complete write-off. There it is, side by side again. Complete write-off. Shitsumi quality. Just not a great fish, and its pec fin was absolutely mullered as well after the harvest. So there's one that's a write-off for me. So again, I'm hedging my bets in all that, and that's why, again, when it comes to pricing this fish, it's going to have to be a price accordingly and based on what it would cost for me to buy that fish, because I've not seen all the others yet. But one was another superb result, but I'm guessing out a lot of the others are going to be very average or poor results, because that's how it is. Tosa is a numbers game. But like I say, you learn an absolutely huge amount from doing it. So yeah, there's my advice on that one. Look out for the podcast on the Koi Talk channel coming out on that one soon. Sort of delve into it a little bit more, but very interesting stuff. And again, I'll apologise this evening for not really working through many of the questions or stuff going on, guys. It's quite a big list to read while I'm also talking as well. Yeah, just to sort of end on one more, the sort of pre-warning on the Taniguchi Grow Out event that we're going to have coming up. That is a phenomenal batch of fish, dripping in potential, and there's going to be some absolute crackers. A big thing with Taniguchi, he's had fish at this price levels and lower go on to be All Japan Koi Show winners. You know, I think there's a shower that he actually sold, and he's still to this day, he's proud of the fish, but he actually sold it as a really, really small Tosa to somebody for I think it was about £150. I couldn't believe it when he told me. Crazy small. I think it was like 12 cm at the time. It stayed at the farm, grew on, and become a serial Z&A winner. Absolutely crazy. So Twisted, appreciate that. Still a cracking night. Steve will be back next week. I'll say I've said it time and time again. I'd be lost without him in the background, full stop, with all the work that he does. Paul, thank you. Great one. Yes. So there we have it. We'll be, a bit more prepared next week. I'm going to get a few shots of some more of the fish that I've got from Japan to run over with you. But yeah, other than that, guys, thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, we'll be back next week with more. And I'll catch you all then. Feel free to pop any questions in the meantime. They do all get picked up, and we'll spend some time working through them. So once again, thank you very much, and I will see you next week.